Good morning, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to our 2020 Athena discussion. So not our typical setting for this event, and we're so glad all of you that are tuning in with us at home or at work on your computers. We're so glad that we have the 5 amazing women here today with us to tell us a little bit about their journeys and really a lot of what's happened in the past few months and how they've really thrived during that time to inspire us today. So we are here on the beautiful porch at the Westmoreland Club, who usually hosts this event for us. So really happy to still be here in this beautiful setting today. So we'd like to get started and introduce our amazing panel that we have with us. So I'll start over here with Lori Nacito, Executive Director of Leadership Books Fair, and she is the 2015 recipient of the Athena Award. Lissa Bryan-Smith, who is the Vice President of Administration from Geisinger Central Region, and she is our 2012 recipient. Barb McCullough, our 2017 recipient, and the PA President of Community Bank NA. Elizabeth Graham, who is the COO of Riggs Asset Management and the 2009 recipient, and Tara Buckford-Wilson, who was our President of Power Engineering Corporation and was our last year's recipient, so 2019. So also today you will find out who she's going to be passing the torch on to at the end of our live stream today. So with that, I'd like to introduce our co-chairs of our Women's Network. So we have the wonderful Carrie Miscavige, Vice President of Sales and Marketing from Times Leader, and Susan Magnotta, the Director of Outreach from the Institute. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the two of them to start going through some questions that we received from all of you, and a lot of things that we want to know about how these ladies are, life after Athena, how they really, through COVID, a lot of things that they've done, and just some inspirational stories to hear today. So,
all right, ladies, let's get to the questions. The first topic is getting started. First question is, what made you decide to go into the career path that you did, and what makes you stay?
Well, I can start. To say that I made this great educated decision to go into banking was not the case. I was 18 years old, and I thought it would be nice to work in a bank because you got to dress up, and that's really what I wanted to do, and I thought it would be a nice atmosphere and everything else. So I started as a teller when I was 18 years old. People have heard this story a lot, but I went to college at nights and weekends, and I stayed because they paid me, and they continued to promote me. And so today I am the president of Community Bank in Pennsylvania, and I love every minute of it and did every single job on earth to get to that point. So, and I had no intention when I was banging on the door the first day that I was coming to work that this is where I would end up, because I just wanted to be a teller at that point.
I agree with that. We don't always know what we want to do, but we fall into that by following our passions and knowing what we don't want to do. There's so much value in knowing what you don't want to do and narrowing it down, and most importantly, finding your passions. So I worked at the newspaper with Carrie and realized that I enjoyed learning about people, and at that time I started volunteering in the community. And once I started volunteering, that passion ignited to even more and more. And when the opportunity came up to participate in Leadership Books Fair in 2002, 2003, I jumped at the opportunity, and that aligned with my passions. So that led me to my job. 17 years later, I'm still the director. So being in the right place at the right time also helps. The director decided to retire while I was in the program. So one thing led to another, and I was encouraged by Lisa Baker and Sean Murphy talk about having mentors is an important thing. I learned from them that I could do it, and I should give it a try, and I think we all understand that, and we want to share that with everyone.
Yeah, I think that's like what you said about jumping in is such a critical component to leadership, because I think that people look at leaders and think they have all the answers, and the truth is sometimes they're just jumping in. They're just leaning forward, or whatever the term is, and taking that risk. And I know that when I moved back to the area 19 years ago, Tara and I are both in family businesses, and I just came back because I wanted to work with my family and see our legacy continue, something that my father started. And as I worked in the business, the passion for what we do to help people you know, sort of ignited my own passion. And but I didn't have a clear, you know, yes, I am, you know, 18, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to learn for this. The path is circuitous at best.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I certainly never thought I was going to be a contractor. I mean, let's be honest. And, you know, all those 28 years later, here I am, still a contractor. With some other ventures too, but you know, to that point, your path is varied, and if you keep an open mind, it's amazing what comes your way.
I started college to be a librarian, and because I love books, but I quickly realized I didn't have the librarian personality. You know, I actually dropped out of school and took a job in the hospital and fell in love with nursing. But I can remember when I started nursing, I would say, this is all I ever want to do. I just want to be a bedside nurse. I'm never moving up. And then every opportunity that would come, I would go for it. I'd go for it. And it's really been exciting, but it also helped me learn what I could do well. And I think that's the best part, is finding out what you do well and then getting it developed even more.
Yeah,
And you have to want to learn the whole time.
100%.
Well, thank you so much. Those were very inspiring answers. And the next question is a little bit about your inspiration also. Was there a specific experience or person that inspired you to become the leaders that you are today?
I mentioned Lisa Baker and Sean Murphy. They were so kind to me and encouraged me to do more and to go for an opportunity where I didn't feel that I was qualified, but they knew I was passionate about it. So they really helped me. But I think that overall, you can learn something from everyone that you meet, and that's something that I find fascinating because I enjoy meeting people, but learning from each person, taking away what you see they're doing right, or even learning what you don't want to do. There's a lot of value in that too. So I think that there's so much mentorship in our community, and you can mentor someone organically. You don't even realize that they're learning from you, or you're learning from them. So it's a two-way street.
I would reiterate that. I mean, I have had some unbelievable mentors who have just genuinely stepped up and done wonderful things for me. Why, I will never know, but you kind of have to pass that on and do that for the next generation. But I do think all the boards that I sit on, I'm so fortunate to be there. Both male and female leaders throughout our area and beyond have taught me so much. And if you're smart enough to listen a little bit while you're there, I realized really quickly I am more often than not the least intelligent person in the room about a lot of topics, but boy, do I leave so much brighter. And I'm so fortunate to be in a community like that, where we have leaders who are willing to share what they know and take the time when I think I may be asking the stupidest question in the world to explain the answer to me. And sometimes I find out I'm not the only one who doesn't know the answer, which is always beneficial too. I don't feel so silly. But it's really nice to see that we have all those leaders who are willing to share their pool of knowledge.
And that's a really good point, because you know you might start out on a board or in a program because you have passion for it, and then the people you meet and learn from once you're doing it, I love that. And I encourage young kids all the time to do that, because I think if you don't get to know people in other industries other than your own, you're never going to grow. And you're just the one that's brave enough to ask the questions sometimes that everyone is thinking in that room, because I've been in meetings with you when you'll ask a question that is not stupid, and everyone can chime in and help. So I learned a lot from those people. And when younger people might not understand the importance of being on boards, or they don't get it, that time commitment that it takes, you're absorbing, you know, knowledge from these people every single time you're here. And friendships. It develops into a really nice friendship, and that's a great thing too. I mean, from Leadership Wilkes-Barre, which I went through in 94 or 5, I think, I have lifelong friends from that I would have never known. So when I called someone yesterday from our Scranton office to let her know that, you know, she was chosen for Lackawanna leadership, And she acted like she had no idea what it was all about. And I thought, you're going to change. By the time you get out of here, you're going to change. Because it's a great experience.
I also think it's important that we have mentors that are willing to have challenging conversations with us, to address where you need to improve. And early on in my career, I was a smoker, which wasn't unusual for nursing at that time. And I can remember I'm an asthmatic, and I would be sick like every winter. And she sat me down and she said, you either make a decision as a healthcare leader to stop smoking and get well, or you can just go back to the front line, but you've got to learn to move up. And even, I can remember Dr. Kistler would say to me, you have to listen to people. And so I think it's people that want to step up and have those conversations that help you grow. And I try to remember that when I'm mentoring somebody, the way to help them in a positive way. And but I think we have to be willing to have mentors and mentor people around ways to improve.
Yeah, I would say that I was very fortunate to have early mentors with both of my parents. And growing up, we were instilled with the idea that your job as a human being is to leave this world a better place than you found it. And it doesn't matter if you make a ton of money or if you get a high position. The most important thing is that you are moving the needle to make this a better world. And so that was truly, the guidance of, my brother and my sister and I. And then when I moved to DC, before I moved back to the area, I worked in DC for about 10 years, and I worked for a large company, and I wanted to go for a position that I did not have the official qualifications for based on the job description, but I knew I could do it. I just knew it. And I went to my boss, and he, and I said, I want to do this job, and I need you to support me. And it was going to be difficult for him because he was going to lose a key player on his team. But I give him so much credit, and I learned so much from him because he said, okay, if this is what you want, I will go to them and I will make sure that they change the description so that you can at least get the first interview. After that, it's all on you. And so as Tara pointed out, people make, whether you know it or not, there are people in your life that are behind the scenes that are clearing the path. And I think that as leaders, that is such an important role, to pay it forward. So.
Thank you, ladies. We're going to jump into a hot topic, which is leading during COVID-19. So the first question is, how did you handle leading when COVID-19 hit, and how are you still navigating through it with your business and personal lives?
I'll start out because it's obvious from healthcare that we were very involved in COVID-19 right from the very beginning. I believe that I was fortunate because I got to go to work every day and see people, and but it was probably it has and continues to be the most challenging in my career, and I went through a lot of challenging times as with our payer mix has changed. We've had a lot of challenges in healthcare, but COVID hit us in a very different way. People had to work from home, we had to adjust to it. Our patients are still terrified to come to the hospital, many of them, but I'm so inspired every day by the people that come to work that never thought twice. They put on all they needed to go into rooms and come out, and I'm talking about environmental service workers, our food service workers, the security teams that help keep the safe at the front door. It's just facilities who would come in and make rooms negative air pressure. So I'm just so grateful that I'm still part of that. And what I know is that the journey's not over, that we're going to have to continue to adapt. And I'm just really grateful that I was actually still in healthcare at this time. So many people said, don't you wish you would have retired before this? And actually, I'm glad I didn't retire before this, and because it's an incredible opportunity, and I get to work every day with real heroes. And every day when I come in and I see a sign that's hashtag Long Live Heroes, it makes me so proud to be in healthcare and that we have Geisinger in our community. That's my commercial, I'm done.
Liz, I want to thank you because Lisa is my board chair, so when I was calling Lisa, knowing she's working at the hospital to see how she was, how everything was doing, she helped me get through what we need to talk about for Leadership Wilkes-Barre, and she was quick to have the tough conversation and how we need to pivot. The word pivot is used so much, but it's a perfect word for now. So with my team at work, we all huddled together, and my colleague Jess Cronauer and Nicole Herchik and Susan Smith, we got together, and Jess took the lead, and she developed this whole virtual programming. And when I was a kid, I heard of Zoom because it was a program when we were kids. Never heard of Zoom before, and now everything is Zoom. And I think everyone is getting used to it now. It's less awkward, but in the beginning, how awkward was that? I mean, really. And now I see a lot of ideas. Thank you, young people who help us with being creative on Zoom and making it more interesting. So I'm going to credit my team for pivoting and taking the lead and moving forward to making that virtual programming. Because right now, we need leadership more than ever. And even though we're not essential, we really will be and are all along. So thank you.
Well, and our story from the bank is a totally different one, but it's one time in my career when I felt like we were really, really needed. When people needed PPP funding, I'm not kidding you, we were working 24/7 because this is something that comes on to you really fast that you didn't expect. You're not prepared. SBA didn't help you to become prepared very quickly, so you got to figure it out. And we did 3,500 of them at our bank, and you know, we're a regional sized bank. We're not small, we're not big, so that was like a nice amount for us, but it is unbelievably the best feeling I've ever had in banking in my life to help these people. Because people would call me, or nonprofits would call me on the weekends and like be in tears and say, I don't know how we're going to survive. I don't know how we're going to continue this nonprofit. I don't know how I'm going to bring my employees back. Small companies to large ones, you know, large ones that needed funding because they could not afford to keep their staff on if they didn't have some funding. And then the smaller businesses that just need to survive, that made us feel like you were working like a maniac, but it was, you had this giant high without being on any kind of medication. You were just in the zone 24/7. I had a lender that was up every night till 1 o'clock in the morning trying to finish things. So between our branch managers and our lenders, I never saw people work so hard in their life, and we all did it, and we all felt so good about it though when it was over. And it could happen again. We could be doing it again. We'll be a little more prepared if this does happen, but it made us feel good. And the other thing that made us feel really good is to do things for our healthcare workers. You know, we sent lunch to every local hospital that we served in, which were in 6 different counties. I mean, we actually sent gift certificates for companies that were restaurants of ours, that were customers of ours, so that the hospitals could do this when it was convenient time for them. Like, we didn't want to show up with a big thing of pasta and they're in the middle of something, you know, COVID-wise. But it made us feel that connection to hospitals that we've never felt on the banking side before. You know, you might financially, if you need something, and I'm on the advisory council for Geisinger, which I love, and those types of things made you feel, you could see how everybody was in it together. So you're helping with smaller businesses, you're helping with large ones, and you're helping the people that are really helping us right now. And that made me feel super good. It made me, at one point, some of the calls that I got truly made me tear up, because I thought, this is what banking is supposed to be all about. We're supposed to be there for people when they need it, and that felt really good.
You're making me cry.
Yeah, I'm more on the livelihood side than the life side, and I have managed money through the 9/11 terrorist crisis, through the 2008 financial crisis, and coronavirus is its own animal. And it was a very challenging time in our world. Markets were in a free fall. Nobody had any answers. Nobody knew. We still don't have answers. We're learning to live with it. Our company is conservative by nature, so we were fortunate because going into this, we figured it was going to be a difficult year with the election. So we were already conservatively managing money with cash on the sidelines and gold. But pandemic comes, I mean, that was out of left field. We had no anticipation of that. And I spent every day talking to people and saying, it's going to be okay. And we're working on the plan is evolving, here's the plan, but don't get married to it because the plan's going to change, and that's exactly how it was. And then I had to sit with people that, have never lost a job in their life and help them figure out unemployment compensation. And I mean, that's a train wreck. I mean, if we learn nothing after this, we need to get that system improved. And the PPPs were incredible. You know, how many webinars did I sit through so that I could talk to my clients and say, here's funding here, 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 and here. And you need to do it. I mean, don't get paralyzed. You need to be in action, proactive, and what can we do to make this work for you? You know, we talked to bankers, we talked to your group, Barb, we talked to so many bankers to get information to share with our clients and friends. And, and it's still, a difficult situation. But I'm sort of like Lissa, I'm glad I'm in it because I'm learning. I'm learning about adaptability. I'm learning about not making snap decisions because you're going to get to change that decision tomorrow. And I'm learning about the value of the team that's behind you. And I'm very fortunate. We have an incredible team. And most leaders will tell you if they're successful, that's why they're successful, because of their team. So Tara, you bought a business.
Genius plan. Not only did I buy a business, pretty much a year before COVID, my 1-year anniversary for shoes happened in the middle of COVID, just what you want to be, a closed boutique with no website. So let me give you the highlight about Community Bank, because that was Shoes Bank when I bought it. So I left it there because they were a very nice bank. And your lender, Steve Cook, I was the 1 a.m. phone call. And
you weren't the only one.
No, I'm sure I wasn't, but I know they worked hard. And you will all laugh at this because there was so much news about how little businesses were left out. And I will tell you, I have a big business, and that's a different animal. That was an essential work, of course. We weathered the storm very nicely and kept very busy and did COVID units for nursing homes and serviced essential workers, businesses, and kept them with good air quality and all kinds of things. But shoes, dead in the water, with a shelf life on its merchandise ticking every day with online sales from all our competitors. And PPP money, literally $11,000 and change made the difference for shoes in that it got my manager back. It allowed me to hire Social Loco, and Ryan and our manager put an online site together based on Lindsay giving me a list of people. This is who you call. When I called her hysterical, like, what am I gonna do? The team at the chamber, I made an investment to join the chamber at Shoes, which literally is a turnaround business. It's going better, thank God, but we didn't have a lot of extra money to do things with, much like all of the people who are in that small retail sector and restaurants. That $11,000 and change saved the ship, which is insane when you think about $11,000 in the grand scheme of things. But that meant everything to small businesses. So thank you to you and all the banks like you that made that a priority and didn't just look to the big people to save them. It was huge. So from my standpoint, leadership came in a lot of different ways. And I mean, my team, to Liz's point, stood up and worked from home. I had service technicians on the power engineering side that literally called their own customers and said, it would be best to do your maintenances and your services now while your buildings are empty. because at the end of the day, it's less risk for you, less risk for us. So we kept everybody moving, on schedule, working. I mean, we were shut down for 2 weeks. In that 2 weeks, I got 2 letters from the governor's office telling me I had to go back to work. So, you know, I had to send people to Hazelton, which in the middle of a very scary time, you know, we tried to be as careful and capable of talking to the ownership and the leadership teams of the facilities we work at in Hazelton to see what the risk levels were. We got counts every day emailed to us. We made decisions about what we would do and what we wouldn't do. We changed all our protocols. My guys climbed ladders to roofs. They never walked in buildings. I mean, we did things that I never in my career thought we would do. And we may change the way we do things going forward permanently in some instances. So learning curve, huge learning curve. But back to the point of all the people that we have had the pleasure of serving on so many of these boards with, instantaneous phone calls to say, what do I do? What do you think? How are you handling this? With an amazing amount of resources that were at my fingertips that without, I don't know what I would have done. So thank you to all those people. And I know we all used a lot of the same and many different, but back to just a huge community of people that wanted to see everyone rise up, not sink.
Well, and you had created a network, right? And that's the thing, I try and tell that to younger people how important creating a network is, because you don't need your network till you need it. And when you need it, if you don't have it, you're not going to make it at that point, right? So, you know, one of the things that I just think is crucial to, you know, growing and succeeding is having a strong network of people that you can call the phone and say, what the heck, you know, how am I going to deal with this? So.
That was great. Thank you. And the next question, I'm going to combine the next two because you've already touched upon in a lot of ways how your passion for servant leadership and involvement in the community helped others during COVID-19. If you want to expand on that, please do, and share how you think the COVID-19 crisis in general helped shape leadership in our area.
I'm going to jump in because we were talking before the live stream. I am incredibly impressed by the young leaders in our community. And I feel like in some respects, they've been better than, I'll put myself in the old leader category, because they've been more flexible in their thinking, more adaptable, more roll with the punches. Yeah, this sucks because it does, but this is what we're going to do. And I am continually impressed and continually learning from these folks. So I would say during this period, that's been one of the shining bright spots, is seeing this whole swath of future leaders, current leaders, that are emerging leaders, however you want to describe them, going from seniors in high school who are dealing with no prom, no graduation, no senior week, no, you know, last day of school, saying goodbye to their, you know, their classmates, to kids in college who had to come home, to all of these people. They're learning, and it's going to impact their lives, and they're going to be able to translate that to teach others how to be flexible in their thinking, and it's very impressive, this young group of leaders.
Because I agree with that. To your point, we've seen so many servant leaders. So people who we have come home from school, our young leaders, maybe they're working from home, they were asking what volunteer opportunities there are so that they can use their time, that their downtime, productively and help others in the community. So so many people have reached out to us to say what opportunities are out there. We would put it on our website. CEO is looking for opportunities, and this organization needs help. And even just call people up, check on them, just to see how they're doing. So I think we've experienced a lot more compassion, and I'll put myself in an old leader position too, to see the energy and enthusiasm from the young people stepping up and teaching us that we can indeed work remotely and be productive, and just in addition to that, we can be leaders and help others. And I have to say that it's been really impressive to see that and to watch that servant leadership happen.
Well, all of you who are watching us right now can't see all the young people in this place, but let me
We say
tell you,
young
this is
people.
going on because of them, and it's the truth.
You're
And
all-
we sat here and said, "Here's future Athena winners, like
Right.
right in this room,
Absolutely.
because you guys are it for us. You're the engagement. I can't stand the thoughts of kids moving away from here, even though there's opportunities in other places. But when I see kids excel here, it's the best feeling in the world. And you're right about Zoom, because the first one I went on, I had Rachel downstairs with me at my makeshift office. Oh my God, this thing. But you guys are so intuitive with that, and you make these kinds of things happen. I think it's great to have a balance of old and young. And old that actually cares about the young and wanting to help you to grow, sincerely help you. I don't feel like I always had that when I was younger. I had it from my family, absolutely. I had it from, it was tough in banking because there were not a lot of senior women in banking. And so most of my mentors came from the male side, yet there was a lot of males that also made me know that I was a woman and I wasn't, put me in my place at times, or my so-called place, I should say. But I'm just saying, we've got your backs, and I appreciate every one of you, and I feel that way about everybody at the bank. I've watched, it's been hard for me because everyone at the bank reacts differently to COVID. So you have to be compassionate and understanding that some people are super scared, some people are as brave as can be, and some just, they're somewhere in the middle. But you have to be tolerant of those that are more afraid and help them through it. We made our places, we have over 250 branches. We had to make these branches as safe as possible. Every one of them are different. We don't have a cookie cutter branch, so you've got to make them all adaptable, as safe as you can for employees, as safe as you can for your customers coming in. And it was a combination of youth and age that put these plans together. And I was on those conference calls every single day, and still we are, because things change all the time, to keep everyone safe. So I want you to know how much I appreciate you guys. And you are the reason that we're sitting here today, because I couldn't put this thing together for anyone.
Yes, thank you.
I want to point out that not-for-profits like Lori's, this has been a really tough time, and everybody here sits on not-for-profit boards. And, we're sitting here looking at the Oosterhout. Many of these organizations had to give up their major fundraisers, and we've had to be part of thinking how to do a fundraiser creatively, how to survive, how to continue to have a presence. The pain of canceling things when those decisions were so painful, but I think that also speaks to the ingenuity of the community and how events are being adapted and how we're still able to fundraise. But that's one of the things that keeps me up late at night, is our not-for-profits, our small businesses. With changes that just came out yesterday, good friends. The best part about living in this valley are the restaurants, the family-owned restaurants. Chains have a special place, but we're so blessed here, and I worry so much for those family-owned restaurants that I love to go to. And so I think that's where our leadership has to continue, how we help those communities survive, and that so many of them talk about community bank and everybody that's been able to support them. But I think that's the next, that's where we have to continue to focus on leadership, to keep the not-for-profits that are so important to the community in northeastern Pennsylvania, and those small businesses, retail, restaurants. Again, that's I don't want to wake up in 6 months and a lot of them are gone. That would I just can't even imagine that world. So
and the thing about it is that small business supports local nonprofits, right? And so if you lose small business, you're going to lose nonprofits. You're going to lose resources for the community, because, with all respect to Amazon, Amazon's not going to write a check to the Oosterhout or Leadership Wilkes-Barre or CASA of Luzerne County or, United Way. And Lisa, I am very frightened for our small business community and our restaurants. restaurants operate on a razor thin margin, and every day they're having to take another one for the team. And you know, if we say nothing here, it's go out and get takeout from your local family restaurants and support your local small businesses, because frankly they're the ones that are buying that ad for the Little League team and for the program book, and we need to do that.
Thank you, ladies. Our next question is, during this unusual time for all of us, how are you navigating through dealing with time for your professional life versus your personal life?
Time? Who has time? My favorite line is, so you rested up during COVID. Did any of you rest up during COVID?
No, my closets are still a mess.
Yeah, all my to-do list still sits. Not one single thing checked off, which has me insane. But there was a new level of ramping up to make this all happen. So, like, from my perspective, and I know you have done this, early on in my crazy, before COVID happened, I contacted my friend Jen Saraboli, who started Studio B right before this whole thing happened as well. And she has a great business model that is all about mindfulness, meditation on a personal corporate level. And she had said to me, you're insane, you shouldn't have taken shoes on, you know, you need to get yourself to a better place. So she had done some one-on-one coaching with me for probably about 2 months. So I had learned how to meditate and do some mindfulness training. And if it was not for that, I am 100% certain I would have thrown myself off the bridge. Like, literally walked out of the store, walked over to Market Street Bridge and jumped, because it was that bad for a period. But I think, to all our points, we learned how to put it into a different gear and how to make that all work. Now, my son would tell you he was very depressed to come home, you know, in the middle of his freshman year of college. And, you know, that's terrible. Selfishly, it was like the greatest thing ever. To have everybody back under the roof, to have a thing where I actually cooked dinners. My daughter said shortly on in, you haven't cooked this much this month. Then it was this year, then it was ever. And we were still supporting our local businesses by picking up takeout, but it was just different. And as much as it was stressful and hysterical and crazy, it was nice to have that everything in one spot kind of a thing. Now I would tell you I'm done with one spot. I'm very happy to be out and about and, you know, carefully and social distancing and wearing my mask and all those things, but I missed people. And I think at the end of the day, there was no rest for any of us really, because there was so much stress involved. It was just a different way to process it and handle it. But I would say, back to that network of people, you know, Jen, lifesaver, and so many other people who just helped and said, you know, what do you need? I mean, the community at large coming out and saying, we're going to support you at Shoes, calling up when we were closed, it's my anniversary, can you put something together for my wife? Or, you know, can you do door drop or pick up? I mean, I was delivering to people's houses, for God's sake. My son was delivering to people's houses.
I mean, I'm sure making a sale was good, but what was really important is that you had purpose, right? That you had, you know, you could do that for somebody.
It was really nice to be able to offer that service and to do it, but honestly, it was so much nicer of them to do it for us. I mean, when we went online, we shipped things all over the country, as far as Hawaii. Now, think about that. Shoes, Kingston, Pennsylvania, going to Hawaii. You know who those people were? People who grew up in this community, who don't live here anymore, who remembered Shoes from 35 years of business and wanted to see it survive. Like, that's unbelievable when you think about that. New York, Connecticut, Chicago, LA. We were countrywide shipping, which blew my mind. Of course, the fact that, you know, we had to keep that going was a whole nother level, but it was just impressive to see the outreach of the community we started in, and whether you've stayed here and continued your success, or whether you've moved away, people don't forget where they came from, and that's huge. And I know it wasn't just Shoes, it was a lot of people.
I think it's a different kind of stress that we're all experiencing, this new normal, abnormal. it's a different kind of stress, and meditating and Studio B, I mean, they're fantastic what they do. We're fortunate to have them in our community. But it's important to maintain your mental health and keep it all in perspective. This is a crazy time for everyone in the world, crazy time, but it's most important to reach out to people and make sure everyone's safe, to do the right thing, and to take time for yourself, and take time to really have fun and enjoy. Because you can get really crazy caught up in all of this. I have friends who are so scared and full of anxiety, and I want to say to them, breathe. And I mean that, breathe, seriously. But we're going to get through this because we have the strength of each other. And we will definitely look back on this as an insane time. But hopefully, there are some highlights during this time where, you know, you made a difference in someone's life. You were able to help people. You were able to connect people. And seeing all of you today and seeing all of our young people, it's just amazing to see people and appreciating the value of that and the value of relationships. So it's a new kind of stress, but I think we need to keep everything in perspective that it's okay. We're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think coronavirus was very isolating. And I think that that's a real concern, because it still is, because there are people that are still scared to live. And what is most disturbing to me in this period is the judgmental approach that we're seeing on social media with what's going on in current events. And I keep on saying to people, look, people are not, they're not operating normally because we're not in normal times. So we've got to give people a pass. You know, they're frustrated, and they're going to react differently than they normally would, and we need to check in on them, as you pointed out, because people are, even if they're sitting at home with their family, they can still be isolated and scared and worried about, you know, are my kids going to go back to school? Will my kids get coronavirus? Will my parents get coronavirus? All of these things people are worrying about, but somehow this virus is not going away. I wish it were, but I don't think it is. And we've got to figure out a way to get back to some level of normalcy. I mentioned that my parents were inspirations growing up. They're inspirations right now. My parents are 86 and 84 years old, and I remember having an argument on the phone at the beginning of this with my father, because he continued to go to the grocery store, and I'm like, Dad, you should not be going to the grocery. I will go pick up your groceries. And then every day I would call the house, and my mom would say, oh, your dad just ran out to the store. And I would like go crazy. And then I realized, you know what? It's their life. And my dad, he needs that. He needs to be, you know, out and have purpose and doing things. And I finally stepped back, and I realized, you know, it's not for me to judge. It's their life. They do it safely. They use hand sanitizer because I've given them a cartload full of it, and masks and all of that. But it's just a weird time.
But you're right, and it's back to what I was saying about employees, how some of them are more upset about this than others. Some of them handle it well, some don't. And it all goes full circle. We talk about small business and how important that is to support small business. It really is. And when Lisa talks about that, this is not just lip service from her, because I have watched it. She has been concerned about several small businesses in our area. She sent me flowers on Mother's Day. And like, that was the biggest surprise to me. I thought, oh my God, George is sending me flowers.
It's a very quiet conversation at dinner that
day. It was the most wonderful surprise to me. And she did it, I'm sure, to be very nice to me, but also to support the florists.
Yeah.
So that's what she does. And she's talked about, you know, helping and ordering dinner in. I know Lisa doesn't like to cook. She likes to order dinner in anyway. So this is the perfect example.
I miss
for her.
eating out so much.
So she has supported every restaurant that you could possibly imagine. And And it's, you have to live what you're saying as best as you can. You have to be that leader for those people that you're around every day, whether it's your parents or your employees. My daughter, this is a hard time for her. She's going to be a senior in college. She doesn't know if her senior year is going to be ruined. Doesn't know if she'll have a normal graduation. I mean, we picked the college. Part of the reason we picked, she goes to Marist in Poughkeepsie, New York, and it overlooks the Hudson. It's beautiful. And I imagined when I was taking her there, this is going to be so nice to graduate on that lawn overlooking them. Now, that may not happen. She may not even be able to finish her year. And I just had to write the check for the rent for the year, and I'm stuck with that no matter what. So I just saying that everybody at different stages of their life right now are having really bad concerns for different reasons. It's all like certain ages are worse, I think, than others because, you know, she turned 21 during this. She hasn't been to a bar, you know. And it's not like she needs to do that every day. I'm just saying her life is not normal now, like so many other kids. They're doing things to adjust, but we got to be there for everybody that we possibly can. Continue to give your parents that sanitizer, because I really do worry about people just going out. But I will say, in stores and anywhere that I've been, most people are very kind about it. I know you had a bad experience at the hospital that you had told me about once, but most people are respectful, most stay away, most wear a mask, and hopefully that will continue. But it's just, I'm just saying, let's continue to support the people that we care about and support small business, and I think we're all going to be okay. We are. It's just a really hard time.
Thank you so much, ladies. I think we've, it's been an amazing discussion. And our last topic, before we move on to some exciting news, is Life After Athena. And Tara, I just want to kind of point this one at you as our last recipient of our Athena Award. But what do you think we need to do, and especially I'd say with everything we talked about today and really how the world has shifted and leadership has shifted, but continuing to develop future female leaders. Like, what do you think are the main things to continue to see those leaders in our area?
You invited me at one point in time while I was co-chairing the United Way campaign to come speak to the young entrepreneurs with the chamber, which was really, really nice because I got to connect with the young people in our community, which I don't get to do. I'm not out at bars. I'm not in that social scene. So I think as female leaders, we really need to seek out the youth of today so that we have an idea of who we should be putting up for these board seats. I mean, I sit on a lot of board development committees where we choose who the next people are who are going to get these board seats. And it's so important to make sure that they are younger people. And I say that because I remember vividly being 23 years old and getting my seat on the Cancer Society board after I had done, I'd been 24, after I had done New Directions and all these things. And I was by far the youngest person in the room, by easily a decade. And at that point I thought, why am I here? But it was the start of such wonderful things and such wonderful opportunity for me. I mean, Melanie Maslow, Marilyn Glagowski, Mike Wood, they took me in. Somehow or another, they thought I knew what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing, but they mentored me and they pushed me and they opened doors for me. And those board positions kept opening up for me. And I think when you lean in, to Liz's point, you have this amazing opportunity to begin to see the big picture of our community and what happens from all of the nonprofits and what they really bring to our area on a large scale that goes unnoticed so often when you're not in the trenches seeing it from the level of the boards that so many of us are fortunate enough to sit on. I mean, I think people look at it and say, I don't have time for that. Maybe that's not the best use of my time. I would challenge you to find a better use of your time. Short of parenting my children, that has been the most rewarding thing other than that I've done in my career. Hands down. So I would say we need to look at both the men and the women in the youth of today, the up-and-comers, and pave the way for them. Put them in those seats. let them make the mistakes we all made. Let them learn. Let them watch us make the mistakes we continue to make. And you know what? They're gonna probably show us a better way, much like this Zoom thing I don't still get live on Facebook. My kids were like, so what's it gonna be on? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. Go through my email, you might figure it out. Exactly. But that being said, you guys have fantastic ideas and different ways to look at it. And at the end of the day, this summer was really hard, as Barb was saying, for so many kids, because there weren't internship opportunities. There weren't things that you could go and do and experience that we've all been fortunate enough to do. So I would challenge all of you, if God forbid these schools do not go back in the fall, that you find room in your organizations to do something with the young adults and the college kids. I spent the summer, I hired my son. My daughter is working at Shoes. Bobby's in the estimating department of power engineering, and I hired one of their friends who's doing an accounting internship. She's an accounting major at Lehigh at power engineering. And we have enough space that fortunately we can socially distance, and not everybody's back in the office, but those are functions that happen out of our office. It has been unbelievable what they have been capable of bringing to the table at their ages, which I should have realized, but I didn't. So I would invite all of you to look at your organizations and figure out how to give young people an opportunity, because when you throw them in, it's amazing what they're capable of, and we're better for it. So I would just hope that we continue to push that envelope. And I sit on a lot of boards. I'm tired, for God's sake. They're all tired. Not that I'm giving up or throwing in the towel, but it's time. It's time to turn it over. And I said that at that conference you had me speak at. Step up. We need you. So please step up. We'd love to have you join our ranks, and we'll all be better for it.
And I agree, Tara, and I think just really, all of the points that you made earlier, and my awesome chamber team that, is with us today, a lot of our Shani, Michaela, Lauren, and Megan, and our future leaders are, I think, even what's so exciting. And sitting here with the five of you, because, I've personally been lucky enough to work with each of you and sit on a board with you, and you've all mentored me, and and just really, I think, hearing all this today, and I know while the future is so unpredictable, and, I think the way we've seen our community come together and having, women like you here and hearing all this today and knowing what our future looks like, it really does, it's going to be challenging, but I know that, hearing all this today and the people we have in this community, that we're going to be able to get through this. And just really wanted to thank all five of you, because you're obviously very special and a part of this community to us, and all the things we heard about today, I think, really showcase that even more. So, and this topic, Life After Athena, I think is interesting because, like I said, all of you really have continued to, it's not just that you won, this really the highest award you can win as a female, and it's a national award. So the importance of this, I think, is just one of the, the coolest things personally, I think, for myself even, but all of you being so inspirational, but all of you are so active, and all the boards you sit on. And Lissa, this question is sort of for you, because you talked so much about nonprofits and the library, but for you, how do you feel about being named our 2020 Volunteer of the Year for our Epic Award? You feel good about that?
Well deserved. I'm rarely speechless.
But you had so much support on this, and you were selected, and I had to do that to you today, and all the ladies knew it. We're so lucky to have you this year, but just goes to show that, you have never stopped after this. You've continued, and the community's so grateful to you. So those flowers are actually for you right over there.
Oh my God!
So, you will be
so much better than going to work. Oh my God! Thank you. What an honor. It's not hard to volunteer in this community.
Well, you make it seem very easy, and I know it's not. So we're very excited to do that this year, and yes, 100%.
Thank you. What an honor. Thank you very much.
Yes. And leading to that, along with Lissa, on August 11th, when we're going to be live streaming again, we're going to have some local watch parties at our area restaurant, so again, supporting local. But we are going to be honoring our 2020 Athena, and we are going to have Liz make a phone call right now. We hope we get her. So again, with all our new technology, we are trying this live for the first time, and we are going to see if we can get her and let her know she's going to be receiving the 2020 Athena Award.
Yeah, so the person that I'm going to call actually was really impressive during the coronavirus period, I think Lori talked about how people were looking for volunteer opportunities. And this woman went to CEO several times a week, every week, for months, and packed food for people that needed it. And that is just a sampling of how she leads. And
One of the many things she's done.
Hello.
hey, Ruth, it's Liz Graham. How you doing?
I'm good. Everything okay?
Everything's okay. I'm so sorry to bother you on your vacation. I just need your help with something. So a couple of days ago, I was on a Zoom meeting with a bunch of women leaders, and we were looking at some amazing candidates, and one really rose to the top, and that was you. So I'm getting emotional here. I'm here with Lori Macedo, Lisa Bryan-Smith, who nominated you, Barb McCullough, and Tara Wilson, and we are so excited to tell you that you are the 2020 Athena recipient. Oh, and you're live, so don't curse.
Actually, had to tell you that.
No.
Oh my God, I love you guys.
We love you.
If you loved us, we'd be in Maine with you.
That's right.
Those pictures are awesome.
Well, I wasn't going to come back, but I guess I should now.
Eventually.
Well, thank you so much. I don't even know. Thank you, Liz.
No problem, Ruth, love you.
Yeah, yes. Well, tell Bill that now he has to treat you like the goddess that we've always known you as. And
I might be able to get some new jewelry out of this if I play my cards very
there you
well.
go. There you go. And anyway, we can't wait to celebrate with you somehow, virtually, in person, however it will be. But we just want you to know that your work on behalf of the community, your leader as a small business owner, it did not go unnoticed, and we are just so proud of all your accomplishments, and we can't wait to help you celebrate.
Oh, thank you guys so much. I just can't believe this. I think I'm crying.
Okay.
I'll talk to you all soon.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Another new way to do things.
I know. That was awesome. So glad we got it. We're so excited for Ruth, and we're so excited for Lissa. So again, we invite everybody to tune in with us on August 11th, live on Facebook. We're actually going to air Epic as well on WBRE that Sunday, so it'll be live on television. And you're going to see some awesome ways our community came together, community heroes, collaborators, the way that we've all worked together. And again, we thank you all so much for being here with us today. Karen, Susan, we thank you so much for everything you've done with our women's network. It's stronger than ever. And again, the 5 of you for continuing to inspire us. I know you'll never stop inspiring us. And we thank everybody for tuning in with us today. So thank you everybody.